What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Somewhat Sports Podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm joined by only one titan of the industry this week, Jurg, my guy. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Work kind of kicking my ass this week. I've been waking up at 1 a.m. for several days now, so not fun. But we push through, we charge on. But most importantly, I say this every week, and I do truly mean it. This is my favorite time of the week. Recording podcasts is my favorite thing to do. And unfortunately, Dame is not here. Dame, I miss you. But I am still having the honor to record this with one of the top tier leading men, podcast hosts of the industry itself. So I'm very excited about that.
Too much pressure, Jurg. Too much pressure that I cannot live up to. I personally don't care that Dame is here. It's become kind of a reoccurring theme of Dame missing. Man's just all around the world. He's all around the world. However, we had to record this week because just a plethora of basketball news to talk about, Jurg. It's going to be NBA centric this week. We're going to talk about all the major trades. There was 3 major trades that we'll talk about primarily. And then, of course, maybe if we have some draft reactions. The draft is yesterday. We're recording Friday. We're recording a little later because we thought, maybe more news would drop. But it's been pretty dry since the draft. And then, of course, we're going to talk about some of the players who opted in and who opted out. So just NBA dominated. We're going to be back and forth because a lot of trades coincided with other trades. So just bear with us. Jurg, I say we start off with the trades. We then talk about who opted in and who opted out. And then
Yep.
we'll end off with some NBA draft reaction. Sound good?
I like it.
Perfect. Okay. Uh, Bradley Beal is now officially, because it became official, I think either yesterday or a few days ago, is now officially traded to the Phoenix Suns. That's right. The team that none of us thought he would go to. We were talking about Miami. We were talking about possibly the Knicks, maybe the Sixers, Golden State, possibly Boston. He ends up on the Phoenix Suns. It was Bradley Beal for a pack of unfrosted Pop-Tarts, I believe, something like that, where they just traded air for Bradley Beal.
Hey, there were pick swaps, to be fair, sort of.
Well, it was Bradley Beal to Phoenix for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, uh, 4 second-round picks, and then a bunch of pick swaps, by the way. And to kind of summarize this, I believe the Suns don't, because you have to, it's not like they don't have a pick because the pick swaps, like they do have picks, but like if
They're a workaround of the Stepien rule.
yeah, but they basically don't have control of their pick until like what 2030 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. It's basically they can't just willingly trade a first round pick away until the year 2031.
Yeah, and we're gonna be in our 30s, and I don't want to bring that up anymore. So
Good
starting
lord.
now, yeah, let's not talk about that. But yeah, that's basically it. It was Bradley Beal for Chris Paul, Andrew Shamet, and a bunch of you know, I don't want to say meaningless picks, but just like a bunch of second rounders and a bunch of pick swaps. That I mean, are you really gonna swap picks with the Suns if they're gonna do all that winning? Who knows? Things could happen, but that's about it. And then of course, well, let's just talk about this trade because Chris Paul did end up getting traded, but Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns. Let's talk about yeah, because I guess the Washington Wizards are a conversation within themselves. Jurg, the Suns needed to make a move because I mean you couldn't just run it back. There was still some gaps in that roster, which is kind of like nuts to say because you do have Devin Booker and you do have Kevin Durant. I thought the direction they would go in was going to be like, let's try to trade Ayton. Let's try to get more roster depth, maybe some 3-and-D guys. We need help on the defensive end. Within the margin players, but players that could definitely make an impact, like PJ Tucker-esque players that they would go after. But no, they went big fish hunting because they get Bradley Beal, and man, did this come out of nowhere. Bradley Beal had control of his own destiny here because he had a no trade clause. So basically, he dictated where he wanted to go. It was between this and Miami, I believe, were the final 2 teams. Miami has been there since the beginning in terms of just Bradley Beal rumors. Kevin Durant recruited, and I have something to say about that. But Kevin Durant recruited. I from what I read is that the Suns, I think, pursued him a little bit more than the Miami Heat did. I think the Heat are still holding out hope that Damian Lillard becomes available. That's another conversation within itself because we're not going to mention that team in the Northwest.
Yep.
But yeah, I think the Suns kind of went all in terms of just recruiting him. Bradley Beal, obviously, I see the appeal here. You're gonna play with Kevin Durant. You're gonna play with Devin Booker. It's a win now team, of course. Notice how I did not say a championship team because we'll talk about that. But a win now team, and I don't blame him. I do not blame him. For the Suns, it's a little weird because, like, again, I said the direction that I thought they were going to go to. I feel like I would have preferred that because they have a lot of holes that they need to fix. And to me, it's just like you have KD and you have Booker, right? You just get better at what you're good at. But what you're good at doesn't necessarily win you a championship. You get better at it, but here's the thing. I know like the fit's a little bit questionable because Bradley Beal and Devin Booker play similar games. Matt Ishbia, big name hunting, man. That dude fired Monty Williams. He traded for Kevin Durant.
Yep.
Now he's trading for Bradley Beal. I mean, for him as a new owner, do I blame him? Not necessarily. Like, you didn't win the championship this past year. You needed to do something. I think just because, and like the direction I'm going in, I feel like he just probably wouldn't vibe with that. That dude just went straight for the big fish. I mean, he got Bradley Beal for nothing, essentially, right? It's just that bench and the defense, and don't forget Frank Vogel's their head coach now. They're very thin. They're top heavy, but after that, oof, they have no point guard. So you're going to have to rely on point guard Devin Booker, which increases his usage. And, like, you need him to score because KD, getting a little older, somewhat on the decline, still a beast, don't get me wrong. Can I trust him health-wise? I don't think so. Bradley Beal's been hurt a lot these last 4 years. Now, maybe some of it's because, like, milking it because, like, we know we're not winning in Washington, but there's still health concerns. Yeah, I don't know, Jurg, because, like, I feel like this team is built to win in the regular season, but by the time the playoffs come, I don't know. Like, I'm still not moved by the Suns. I'm moved. I mean, I'm a little bit moved. Obviously, the star power. You have a three-headed monster, but I I remember, like, I wasn't as scared when the move happened than I was, for example, when the Nets got James Harden. Because when the Nets got James Harden, I was like, okay, fuck, this is like way too much.
Right.
But I don't know, man. I just don't feel the same about Phoenix. If you're gonna ask a lot from Booker, by the way, if he's gonna play point Booker, unless you trade Aiden for like a decent point guard, which I don't know what's gonna happen with him. That's, I think, the route that they would have to go to kind of balance everything out, is to get some type of assets for Aiden. I just don't know who's gonna like trade for Ayton now. I don't know if his value's that high, but I don't know, Jurg. It's like they're a regular season team that's built for regular season success. And I think maybe the star power alone could get you in the second round. I don't know if I see them like winning the whole title, you know? Kevin Durant does not play more than 65 games in the regular season now, right? And if God forbid he gets hurt, what are we doing here? Because your depth is very, I don't know, man. I'm a little worried about them. And I mean, again, top heavy. I think they'll be a top 4 or 5 seed for sure, for sure. Maybe just the top 4 seed. I don't know. I just brought 5 just because, like, I don't think their top 3 will play, and because Beal and KD split like the games off.
Right.
I don't know, man. Like their roster's so thin that like
you have a big 3, but you can't look at any of these big 3 that all like any. Can we really definitively say that any of them will play 70 plus games next season?
They're not. The only person I could see like possibly going past that threshold is Devin Booker, right? But then again, if he does that, dude, he's gonna be fatigued by the time the playoffs come.
Yeah.
That's why it's just like, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm a little concerned. I really don't care because it's the Suns, but like, I don't know, man. I will say this though: they have to win. They have to win because I've never seen a team that's more badly equipped for like life after Kevin Durant
Right.
than the Phoenix Suns right now. They have zero control over their own picks.
Yep.
Till 2030, right? And like, if you don't win a championship, still possible. I like, I'm gonna like. They took 2 games against the Nuggets just with KD and Booker, so I'll give them somewhat respect. But like, I don't know, man. I could see them not winning as well, and then their end game just probably be trading Booker for like the King's ransom to make up for what you lost. But again, I guess you make this trade because they essentially got him for nothing. I mean, let's be straight up. So I don't blame the Suns. Bradley Beal, don't blame him. Yeah, it's a must win now for Phoenix. But then again, I just don't see that. I don't know. Maybe if they trade Ayton and they get like some decent pieces back, then I'll be a little bit more comfortable in terms of like their title odds being high. But other than that, right now, I could see them being. They're definitely like contenders in the West. Like I think it's them and Denver, right? Those are the two. I don't know if like I have this team winning it all though. I don't know. But in terms of like the Wizards, look, I understand you got chips for him. It's kind of your fault.
Yeah.
It is your fault here. You should have traded him earlier. You
Yep.
gave him the no trade clause. What are we doing, you idiots? And you decide to tank after the Wemby draft? After the Scoot Henderson draft? Maybe like you could say that maybe Beal should have like, I don't know if they've done right by him, but like maybe like because he really did like put them in the blender, man. Like he
Yeah.
gave him no choice. Like he just like had him in a headlock, so they really couldn't do much. But this is what had to happen now. Obviously, they made a trade after this one, but damn, bro, you get like nothing for like your all star. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of nuts. I don't feel bad, but it's kind of surreal to like just see what they got for him at the end of the day. Jurg, I've rambled on enough.
Yeah.
Maybe you have more to say about this because the Heat didn't end up getting Beal. I would have for sure thought the Heat would have gotten Bradley Beal, or they could still get Lillard. There's still that possibility, but I don't want to touch that yet.
Yeah.
But I
I,
feel
I,
Beal
I
would have
don't I
been
don't want I don't
flawed for
want
you.
I don't want to touch that until it actually happens.
And you know what? Who knows if it may ever happen? But yeah, Jurg, your thoughts, reactions, concerns, criticisms, and then you could factor your Miami Heat into this if you want.
So I was definitely shocked when I saw the trade because
Yeah,
I like ultimately to me between Beal and Lillard, I was having this conversation slash argument with somebody at work where it's like I don't think there's a discernible difference between the two of them. I honestly really don't.
you Beal
Like
and Lillard.
they are score first players who are pretty good at getting teammates involved, but in their playoff careers, they have damn near the same amount of success. Lillard has just won one extra playoff series in his playoff career than Bradley Beal has. Bradley Beal has been to semifinals before. Lillard's been to one conference finals, which he got swept in. Like the
I think Lillard's the better player, but like I see what you mean. Like their career success trajectory isn't like
Yeah,
that far
it's
off.
like if you're looking at career success and what these guys have done in the playoffs, like there is no discernible case as to why Bradley Beal is a lesser player than Lillard. And I understand the whole all-time argument because Damian Lillard was apparently the 76th greatest player of all time in the top 75 list or whatever the hell it was. What last season when they did the NBA top 75. Uh, but like I think ultimately I wasn't surprised at the end of the day that they didn't go for Beal. Like they made an offer, but I don't think it was a serious offer. I don't think it was the best possible offer the Heat could have gone for.
Probably didn't include Tyler Hero, so.
Yeah, that was the big thing. The big thing was that the Heat were trying to acquire Beal without giving up Tyler Hero,
And I
because
was like, well, you gotta include Tyler Hero for a player like Bradley Beal. Clearly not. You didn't need to.
who'd have known? And apparently you can get a discount Tyler Hero in a subsequent trade for one of the guys that you got for Bradley Beal, but that's neither here nor there. Um, I think that it ultimately it didn't shock me that Miami didn't take it seriously. I wish they would have, because I think it's really stupid. Because now you've hamstrung yourself in a situation where they who shall not be named in the Pacific Northwest are being really stingy about the whole Lillard thing. And we know he's not going to run from the grind, and it's going to be another year. And
I've
Lillard's like,
had
I
it.
just
I've
want to win
had
a
it.
chip.
I've
Like
had it.
I'm so sick, so sick of it. So I don't want to mention that anymore. But ultimately, as a Heat fan, it was disappointing. Now, did I expect the Suns to be the team to do this? Not really, because they weren't like yeah, they were in the discussion, but I think all signs were pointing to maybe a new team trying to get a Bradley Beal. Like, was it not a rumor that we spoke about last week, Chris, where the Sacramento Kings were trying to be a dark horse in the
Kings,
conversation?
Bucks.
Kings and Bucks. I think it would have been interesting because, as we know, I mean, kind of spoiler alert, somebody opted out of Milwaukee. Actually, two guys opted out in Milwaukee, and it was plenty of cap space there for the Bucks to try to make a move to try to get a new second guy in there to team with Giannis. That certainly would have been interesting to say the least. Or the Sacramento Kings, this young, exciting team in the Western Conference that had a surprise third seed in the standings this past season. That would have been interesting. But no, it ultimately comes down to a team that, like you said, this is a win. This is funny, Chris. This is a win now move by a team that we can't call them definitive championship contender.
Right? It's so weird.
This is a 82 game this is an 86 to 89 game team. And I'm saying that because I'm factoring in the first round. because I think talent-wise, the Phoenix Suns,
They'll get past the first round.
yeah, unless that first round opponent is somehow like the Warriors
Yeah,
or
it
the
ends up a
Clippers,
situation like that, right?
which is what they could have almost been this season because they dealt with a Clippers team that was just injured to hell in a handbasket. Like, as much as I don't like a certain guy on that Clippers team, clearly I'm talking about Paul George, but as much as I don't like some of that Clippers team and what they're about, a fully healthy Clippers team, I think it probably could have taken down this year's Suns team.
Them with Kawhi alone was about to beat them, bro.
Yep. So ultimately, I think the Suns team made a move that's going to help them in the regular season, and I think there is enough talent on that team to where they should be a first round minimum winning the first round team.
Yeah.
But now it's deeper in the playoffs, and this is where we talk about Ishbia, but ultimately it's James Jones who, like, it's an interesting position for him because now you're working for a guy who he's not the one that brought you in, but clearly he's giving you the chance that he didn't want to give Monty Williams because it was a Matt Ishbia call that Monty Williams is no longer the head coach, and so in all that genius we hire Frank Vogel. Okay, but I think this was a trade that James Jones, because again, let's be real here. Things don't materialize like this out of thin air. I'm willing to bet even after the Kevin Durant trade, there was internal conversation in the organization of trying to take that next step. I think we've known since even before the regular season ended that Chris Paul was no longer going to be a Phoenix Sun after the season. And I think with some idea of it because of how things ended up last year, I don't think DeAndre Ayton is long for Phoenix either. So it's all about building the depth of this team. I equate it to, obviously this is two different situations, but kind of the Maple Leafs in the NHL. They have a core four of guys, and everyone and their mother that talks hockey, including Maple Leafs fans themselves, are talking about this has to be the summer you break up the core four if you want to actually be legitimate, like if you want to build out that roster properly. You need to trade DeAndre Ayton to build out this roster properly. Um, I don't think that DeAndre Ayton has no value per se. I think there is value in a guy like him. I think there's still room for improvement in a guy like him. And I think if you are the Suns, you can get something decent back for him. Maybe an extra first round pick in the trade to help set you up for a future trade down the line, or to just use that first round draft pick. Because now this is the thing. I think this post Beal trade is the true test for James Jones in his management career.
Oh.
I really think it is, because now your margin for error in terms of building out the rest of this roster is 0 to none. You have to be smart with all your draft picks you're going to get going forward in regards to building this team in terms of surrounding these guys. You need to build this team up in a way where there needs to be a sustained period of success. And I'm talking about post Kevin Durant. I'm talking about making sure Bradley Beal resigns. I'm talking about making sure Devin Booker tries to stay the face of the franchise for his entire career, because D-Book wants to be cut from that same cloth and stay with the team in his whole career. Maybe who the hell knows. But I think this is the pressure now on James Jones to build this team to be a real contender. I think this is going to be the biggest test of his middle. Let me say this. I think James Jones has done a phenomenal job in Phoenix. He and Monty Williams turned that trash heap of an organization around, right? But now it's on them to continue this level of success. It's been a decent 3 years, but exactly, Chris. At the end of the day, you gotta win. You got to get it done in the Western Conference. That now, for what, 3 years in a row, or 3 of the last 4 years, the NBA champions have come out of the Western Conference. And I'm talking about different teams. I'm talking about this year being the Nuggets, who are going to be around for a long time. I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors, who, yes, they lost in the second round this season, but I don't think we can necessarily count them out entirely. And the Los Angeles Lakers a couple of years ago, where depending on the offseason they have, maybe they're going to be a top 6 team in the Western Conference again. Maybe you have to face them in the first round. Which, sidebar, Kevin Durant, LeBron James will be the highest watched first round series of all time.
Oh, by the way, so the Lakers won before the Bucks won. So like 3 out of the last 4.
Yeah. Three of the last 4. So I think that's the ultimate thing when it comes to the Suns. When it comes to the Wizards, as a hockey fan, I've seen this goddamn strategy before, and I'm very entertained to see an NBA do it now. An NBA team do it now. The Wizards have opened themselves up to give us your bad contracts and pay us with draft picks, and we'll take them and we'll pay them. And that's exactly what they did after this trade, to then move on and make a deal right after that. You know what I mean? So I think ultimately with this, from the Wizards' perspective, I think this is a sign for this Wizards organization that they are going to be in the business of taking on bad contracts and just replenishing first round picks. Because remember here, they made a new general manager hire within the last month or so. This is not the general manager that negotiated the Bradley Beal deal. This is not the guy that gave him the no trade clause. This is a guy who had no leverage into this situation. And this was not the greatest return, but was this maybe the best possible return? I think we need to be fair with asking that question. This is not the guy that set the Wizards up in this situation. This is the guy that has to dig the Wizards out of this situation. And I think for at least the right of the pick swaps in the future, if things do turn sour for the Suns, and I don't know if this is one of the picks they get to swap it, but let's say in the year 2028, if the Wizards have the 22nd pick and the Suns have the 11th pick, man, that pick swap is looking real good, huh? Like, again, I don't know if that's the exact year, one of the exact year swaps, but the point still stands. I think the Wizards are building themselves up for a long-term rebuild. And I'm with you, Chris. It's really weird that they're doing this after the Wemby draft, but again, this is not the same general manager. This is a new guy. This is a new leader. This is a new vision. This is a new set of eyes running this team, and we have to give. We cannot criticize this current regime for what the previous regime did. We need to give them a clean slate, and for what they tried to do, I think they're trying to go about this in a right way. Let's give them credit. They actually traded Beal. It wasn't going to happen under the old regime. I think we need to at least start with giving them credit there. But yeah, it was a tough deal. It was a tough return. Not the greatest thing in the world, obviously, even though they did get an extra first-round pick in a subsequent trade back here, which we're going to talk about here soon. But I think for the Wizards, could you have gotten more? I think that is a fair argument. But I would also argue you had a lot of handicaps go your way for a new general manager who this is the first trade he set up. Like, this is, and granted, assistant general managers are very more like in tap to things than we think, but this is now you're the guy making the trades. Like, I think this was a big first trade for the Wizards, and it's not going to show up here in the short term in any way, shape, or form. But I think this was the first step of the new Wizards era, and they just needed that at the end of the day.
It's tough. Well, thank God I'm not a Wizards fan, but like, yeah, man, it's like you said, there's a lot of baggage that comes with this trade because like off rip you're going to be like, damn, they got scraps for Bradley Beal. It's like it's previous ownership's fault, like you said. So like I hear you. But hey, they have some decent young players on that team that I don't think are that bad. I like Denny Avdija, I like Corey Kispert, I like Daniel Gafford. It's not it's not like you're devoid of young talent. You're in for a long rebuilding situation, man. I feel bad, but their rebuild was added upon. That's a better phrase. Was added upon because, like I said, they traded Bradley Beal for Chris Paul and Landry Shamet, all those picks. We all knew that Chris Paul was going to get traded. It was either that or he was going to get waived in some capacity. But we just knew that Chris Paul wasn't going to be playing in a Wizards uniform.
Yep.
Yesterday, out of nowhere, trade.
My God.
It was, my goodness, this was so out of nowhere. Like, and I thought the trade before, like the trade the day before that, the trade before yesterday, 2 days ago, was big. This one came out of nowhere. Chris Paul traded to the Golden State Warriors. The Wizards receive a protected 2030 first round pick. Okay. 2027 second round pick, and Jordan Poole.
Bad contract.
Yeah.
Bad contract.
It's so weird because like that's NBA champion Jordan Poole. Yeah, it's fact.
Yeah, just like Olympic gold medalist and NBA champion JaVale McGee. Come on now.
We joking around. Jordan Poole's a fucking idiot. But let's talk about this from the Wizards' perspective here. Give us picks. We'll take bad contracts. This is one of those situations, but also Jordan Poole is a pretty young player. So this is their guy going forward. Like they did need someone to like sell tickets, bro. And I know it's like Jordan Poole, it's not like, a crazy big name, but it's someone. I do think he has somewhat name value. Like you did need a guy. Take the over for the amount of shots this dude's gonna take per game, bro.
I was about to say, Chris, you need like if you're a Wizards fan and you know your team is going to suck next season, at least go because A, the tickets aren't going to be as expensive as they were in previous years, and B, the comedy of the amount of shots. I would hammer the over every single time. It's eventually going to be at a point where you bet $200 on Jordan Poole over for shots.
You're going to win like 10 back.
Yeah, 10 cents, you mean. Like, it's going to be that bad. Like, God.
Nah, it's nuts. Well, that's the thing where I think, like, their young core was added upon because yeah, this is the bad contract, but again, he's a young player. Like he could be like a core piece, right? You're gonna have a bunch of time to figure out if he's like your guy because like who knows now? This is his team now, essentially, right? He's gonna be the main guy on the Washington Wizards. They're gonna be bad. For him, think about it. Jordan Poole, he has his ring, he has his money. Now, like this is gonna be his team where he has free reign to do anything to just get your empty stats. So I guess a good situation for Jordan Poole. For the Wizards, like this is whatever. Like again, we get picks. Maybe Jordan Poole's the guy. I think it's like a low risk, low risk, high reward type situation. So um, I know the picks are down the line, but fuck it, there's something. And yeah, Jordan Poole, again, that's your main guy. You have like something to kind of to possibly build around, right? To
Yeah.
build upon, possibly. I say possibly because like you just don't know with Jordan Poole now,
Yeah.
right? Like, do I trust him to be the guy?
Yeah.
No, but he is the guy situationally, right?
Agreed.
Um, for the Warriors, okay, they get Chris Paul. This one, the thing is, I I can't give you a full analysis of this trade yet from the Warriors' perspective because there has to be more moves coming from their end.
Yeah, that roster is nowhere near being set.
Yeah, so I think Chris Haynes reported that he's going to stay with the Warriors, Chris Paul, and then yeah, he's not going to get waived. So Chris Paul joins Golden State, which is hilarious. If you told me this in 2014, 2015, I would be like, all right, bro.
If you had said this in like 2017, 18 when he was on the Rockets, I
You're
would have been
right.
like, what?
You're absolutely right. Here's the thing. I feel like they could have gotten more for Jordan Poole. Weirdly enough, like you got Chris, like that was the best you could get. Well, fit wise here, he has to be backing up Steph. Like he can't be starting. Chris Paul cannot be starting because if he's starting, it's what Steph, Chris Paul, Clay at the 3, Wiggins 4, and then 5. What Looney just in case Draymond doesn't come back. It doesn't
Hey,
make sense.
hey, 6-man Klay Thompson, Chris.
It's true, but again, Paul's age, I could see him going off the bench. So I mean, like, look for Chris Paul. Um, yeah, it's a wait and see approach in terms of like fit, but I think like that's a winning organization, and Chris Paul, for as much shit as we give him, he's a winning player. I think it will work out eventually at the end. Uh, but again, the Golden State Warriors roster is a little weird right now. It's in flux because I don't know what's gonna happen with Draymond. They still need like a second score to back up Steph because I don't know. I'm kind of off Clay at this point. Clay's kind of too far gone. Like he's very inconsistent, but yeah, I mean, you get Chris Paul, but I think for me, the biggest thing for the Warriors was getting out of that Jordan Poole contract here. Damn. Damn. They really wanted him gone. This just tells me that that locker room was so fucking divided.
Yep.
It's insane. Like, and if Draymond doesn't re-sign with them, bro,
They lose both of those
he
guys.
is damn dude. That punch has like some long-term effects.
Self-destructed a team.
Because Poole's a young player, man. That was your guy in the post Steph era. Like he was the chosen one technically. Now he's gone. I don't know now what happens. Does Draymond leave? Like
Maybe.
it's just gonna be Steph and arguably I think their second best player at the moment is Wiggins. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's weird because I like Chris Paul. I think he should be coming off the bench. I think he should embrace that role because, bro, he's 38 years old, and I think he'll buy it. It's a good like partnership here. I think it's two winning. It's a winning player and a winning organization. I think he'll embrace playing with Steph. Embrace playing on the same team with Steph. There are going to be moments where they play together on the court. I just don't think they should start together. But yeah, Jurg, what did you make of this blockbuster that came out of nowhere?
So just real quick from the Wizards' perspective to kind of close the book on things for them, this is why I mentioned the bad contracts thing, because they are going to be a team with this new collective bargaining agreement with the new effects it's going to have on the luxury tax, bracket levels and how much you got to pay. It forced a team like the Warriors to do risk assessment and be like, okay, Jordan Poole in the long term, if because let's be real here, if there's one person we can guarantee 1000% is going to finish his career as a Warrior, it's going to be Steph Curry, and he was going to continue to sign contract after contract to make $50+ million for the rest of his career. The Warriors basically decided, instead of having this long-term cap hit on our team, let's settle for the short term. Let's get rid of Poole now, and let's basically reset things, but for a quick short-term reset. because I think they clearly saw in the playoffs that it just wasn't worth it. Again, this is why I kind of mentioned. I think the Wizards trades here did two things, Chris. First off, I think it really set a new standard of what I think rebuilding teams are going to do in this new CBA era. Because I think we're going to get another team or two like this within the next season or two, where it's basically just like give us your worst contracts and just give us picks. And I know you could say, yeah, well, it's been done before, and I understand that, but I'm saying like deliberately, like I'm telling you, man, as a hockey fan, I have seen team after team do this, and this is nothing new to me. This is not foreign to me. This is this is something I've seen many a times. Whereas I think in the NBA, it's not as common. MLB, you can't really do it because you can't trade draft picks, and in the NFL, teams don't necessarily like having bad contracts. They try to cut back contracts as quick as possible, right? Like this happens in the NHL all the time. I think this is going to be a new thing we're going to see in the NBA first. I think second with the Bradley Beal trade, real quick, because I forgot to mention it. I think the Bradley Beal trade is going to reset the trade market on what star players are,
Thank God.
because the fact that there were no clean, and in part because of the team that it happened with, but there were no clean first round picks dealt in that deal.
Yeah.
I think that's going to affect things going forward for some of these guys that might think they're able to move their way out of their teams, and in terms of how much teams can get back. I think, in theory, it should reset things at least a bit. It's going to tone it down again. That just an opinion. All right, now to the trade itself. Mainly on the Warriors' perspective, I am not against trading Jordan Poole, but acquiring Chris Paul was something. I mean, if I thought the Bradley Beal thing was like a 1 in a million chance of happening, maybe not 1 in a million, maybe 1 in 1,000. This was 1 in a billion, because I would not have expected this team to go continuing to go all in on the whole 3-guard lineup concept. But they said, "Eff it, our third guard is going to be CP3." And I mentioned the cap situation here because I look at this team and I look at Steph, who's got $51 million on the books. I got Klay Thompson, who's got his $43 million on the books this season. I have Chris Paul, who's making his $30+ million.
Wiggins.
You got Wiggins, who's making pretty modest compared to the rest of $24 million this season. And then it's bench players of Gary Payton's ilk and Kevon Looney's ilk, right? And then lower on the roster, you have the two rookie guys in Moody and Kuminga who really need to prove themselves, and Dante DiVincenzo, who, spoiler alert, opted out. Like, he's probably gone. A team is probably going to pay him 10, 11, $12 million a year. Like, the Warriors are kind of in a place, kind of what I said about the Suns, maybe not as much pressure-wise because they've actually won championships, but they need to find a way to really retool the hell out of his roster, and Draymond's a free agent. And it's a new general manager there. Mike Dunleavy's the new general manager of that team. So this is this is quite the challenge, to say the least. But a shout out to Mike Dunleavy, who 3-4 days before this said, "We see Jordan Poole being a Warrior here for a long time," and then just traded him right then and there. Just I respect the cold hardness sometimes. I think with Chris CP3, I'm torn because, like you said, Chris. Ironically, Chris talking about Chris. I think CP3 is someone who we're going to have to work hard to make people understand how good he was when his legacy's over. This is me as a Heat fan with Dwayne Wade, because God, nobody under the age of 16 understands how good Dwayne Wade was at his peak. Chris Paul is a winning player. Chris Paul is one of the 5 greatest point guards of all time, bar none. I would sometimes argue putting him a bit higher in that list. I think this Warriors team is his. We were talking about his last week, Chris. What was the best chance for Chris Paul to win a championship now?
We said Lakers, didn't we?
We said Lakers, and I argued Clippers. I argued for a Clippers reunion if it was going to be with a wave. I think this is going to be a big, for a lot of people, this is going to be big on, can Steph and CP3 make it work? Can CP3 make it work with Stephen Curry? And however it's going to be figured out. I'm very intrigued to see how this is going to work, because if we're assuming they're going to keep Klay, man, all 3 guards are there. Who the hell is coming? I mean, obviously we know it ain't going to be Steph. So who the hell is coming off that bench? Or are they going to work the magical 3-guard lineup of Klay at the 3 and CP3 at the 2 somehow and think that's going to work? I don't know. But to me, this only further muddles the roster construction. And unless Joe Lacob is willing to pay over $500 million for this roster next season, I think the odds of Draymond coming back are really low, man. Because even though Chris Paul is obviously not an interior defender, you want to talk about replacing Draymond Green's IQ on the basketball floor, you may have just got one of the only 4 to 5 guys that are better than him in the league than that. That's how it is.
Would you bring him back, Draymond?
See, I know, here's the thing, because I fully understand Draymond makes your basketball team better. He makes your team better, and on a championship hopeful team, he can be an integral piece. But at his asking point, man, like
No, I'm not
here's the
doing
thing.
it.
I wouldn't have made the Chris Paul trade to begin with if I
That
had
is
the
true.
autonomy. So this is a different thing, but now it's you've made the Chris Paul trade because Chris Paul has a higher cap hit than Jordan Poole would have this season, if I'm not mistaken. And now you still got to try to pay Draymond to come back. I don't know, man.
Because that's your roster.
This is a
Then
rough looking situation.
it's Steph, Clay, Wiggins, him. Like, bro, like they can't win you a championship anymore, bro.
Kuminga and Moody have no excuse that this needs to be the year they step up and actually contribute to that
Is
rotation.
Kuminga gonna be on the roster?
He has to.
I don't know,
He's a
man.
cheap player. He's like I think he's $6 million per the rookie deal. I think he's $6 million this year and $7 million next
Well,
year.
that dude liked a tweet that was just like pro Jordan Poole. Like I think he was cool with him. So
I mean, young players are always going to be cool with each other. Like
that is true.
this is one of those hey kid, it's a business. Learn the business, as some people would say. Like
Like, bro, you're with the Warriors, man. Freaking, I don't know.
you won a championship doing nothing. Like this is what champions have to try to do. They need to mix and match their roster. Again, I don't disagree with trading Jordan Poole, and
You
I
needed to, I guess.
I think it would have happened no matter what. I just didn't expect Chris Paul to be the freaking return out of all things
That
in
is
the world.
that is true.
Like that is the shocking part. This is literally something that I need to see it happen to believe it. Because what the hell?
If Draymond leaves, they're gonna be in a tough situation. Because maybe maybe they want Draymond to return, and they're just like, all right, well, we got rid of Jordan Poole, we could pay him the money, but I don't know, bro. Like the Golden State roster is very weird, very weird. But who knows? It was definitely out of nowhere, so it was cool to talk about. I thought that Porzingis would have been a good fit for the Warriors. Actually, funny enough, I thought he would have been perfect next to Steph,
Mm.
and I bring him up
Transition.
because yeah, transition, guilty segue there, because we had a Porzingis trade. Now, what ended up being the official package between teams wasn't the original package. So the original trade package was Malcolm Brogdon to the Los Angeles Clippers. Celtics get Porzingis. So again, bad contracts, but picks for the Wizards. Marcus Morris, Gallinari. These It says Peyton Pritchard and Jason Preston, and the 2023 first round pick, which I guess would have been from the Celtics, which would have been pick 30, and a 2022 Boston first round pick, probably protected or something like that. I think this deal went through. However, I think there was a health issue with Malcolm Brogdon, which led to the whole deal collapsing. I thought it collapsed because Porzingis opted out because he wanted a longer deal.
Mhm.
I think it was a Brogdon health thing. So, yeah, that didn't end up happening. The trade that did happen, however, was okay. The Wizards end up getting Tyus Jones, Gallinari, Mike Muscala,
The boy.
and the 35th overall pick. The Celtics, this was a 3-team trade, by the way, get Porzingis, the 25th overall pick, and a 2024 first round pick from the Grizzlies. And then the Grizzlies get Marcus Smart. Like, the Celtics got more in this trade than the Wizards got for Bradley Beal, which is what? When you put it like that, it's just absurd. For the Wizards, again, bad contracts or whatever, expirings for picks, sure. And then Tyus Jones, I think, is a pretty decent backup. So they get him. The Celtics, I think, are the clear winners here because they get Porzingis and 2 first rounders. I get what the Wizards did. I clearly get what the Celtics did here. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But the Grizzlies trading 2 first rounders confused me. I get you're gonna lose Ja for 25 games. You're losing Dylan Brooks, so you get basically a Dylan Brooks-esque player. I think Marcus Smart is obviously better, but they're kind of like the same archetype to me. So you get Marcus Smart. You have a fill in the gap until Ja comes back, and pretty decent backup for when Ja does get back. I just don't know. Do you include 2 first rounders? Do you think you're that close that you trade 2 for first rounders for a Marcus Smart? I don't know. I think if I'm gonna give up some first rounders, bro, I think I want a better talent than Marcus Smart.
Right.
So I'm a little confused as to why the Grizzlies went hard for this.
Well, Chris, desperation breeds,
Stupidity?
well, yes, and also, moves that maybe hindsight 2020 they might regret, but Their franchise player just got suspended 25. How many games? 25 games.
25.
He got suspended 25 games. Should have been more. And you got to replace him with someone in the lineup that
But
in
why not
in
Tyus
their
Jones?
concept in their look. This is where the desperation comes in, Chris.
Okay.
I think they viewed Marcus Smart's defense and his ability to just be that guy in a locker room as the key reason why they made this trade. I think, sorry to now cut you off, but I think ultimately, if we look at all three teams here, again, Wizards take random contracts back. They didn't even get bad contracts here. Like, I think Tyus Jones has a year left. Danilo Gallinari just opted in, and Mike Muscala is Mike Muscala. So, boom, there. And they trade Kristaps Porzingis, who, let's be real here, like, you're not losing much there. So for the Celtics, you get Porzingis, who can fit next to either Al Horford or Robert Williams. Whoever is going to get more playing time is perfectly fine. I think he has the stretching ability to work with them. And Porzingis is actually a good defender. It's just about health with him, which ironic, two of the three, potential front court guys there have health problems. Hello, Robert Williams. Hello, Kristaps Porzingis. But I think if you're the Celtics, their whole idea is that Miami ate them up in the paint this year. Joel Embiid, when he actually cared to play basketball in the second round, ate them up in the paint and did well. James Harden driving, Jimmy Butler driving. Porzingis, Horford, Robert Williams. Man, that's not going to be an easy team necessarily if they can figure it out to go in the paint against. And then ultimately, like I said, I think this was a desperation move by the Grizzlies, a Hail Mary. I think defensively, Marcus Smart fits what they want. And I think what they want, they're going the whole culture thing. I think they think that Marcus Smart can be a cultural leader for that locker room.
He could. He could, for sure. Well, let's talk about the Celtics right now. Because like I said, I just think the Grizzlies gave up too much. I understand, like, like a culture reset, but like, oof, it was a pretty steep cost in my opinion. Here's the thing with the Celtics. I think the Celtics on paper got better, but Porzingis is a good interior defender. Here's the thing with the Celtics. They needed to do something, bro. Like, they couldn't just keep coming back with the same team, same roster. So you get Porzingis, you form like an off-brand Twin Towers with him and Robert Williams. So you're still devoid of a point guard here. You're stuck with Malcolm Brogdon, I guess. You get the 2 first-round picks, which is great because maybe you could use that with a package down the line for a package down the line. It's a little weird with Porzingis because I do think it could fit. He is now a third option on a contender in the East. I want to see how that plays out because he was number 2 to Luka.
Mm-hmm.
He can't be a number 2. He's just not a number 2.
Yeah.
Wizards, you're just whatever. That's mediocrity.
You're just there. You're just a body.
You're in a stable organization. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. The Mavericks are not a stable organization. You're not a stable team. You're on a winning team now that knows what the fuck they're doing. You're going to be behind Jason Tatum. You're going to be behind Jaylen Brown. Sometimes you might be even the number 2 because Jaylen Brown just can't dribble a fucking basketball to his left. I think on paper they should be better. I mean, all this is just to lose to the Miami Heat in 6 games. It's just, this doesn't move me. Like, the odds for them, for Vegas odds, like they were like first to come out of the East. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm moved by this. I do think they needed a tweak. They need to do something different. This is definitely different. He's a good interior defender, but like I just feel like I trust Marcus Smart more on the defensive end because Marcus Smart, I think, could defend the 1 to 3 at least. I think Porzingis, when he's gonna get stuck with like smaller guards, he's gonna get cooked. But also health. You're right. Like, health is like that's a main thing with Porzingis. And I don't know, man. If you go deep into the playoffs, do I trust Porzingis? Right, to be healthy? I don't know. Because if he's gonna get like a more of an increased responsibility on the defensive end throughout the whole season, by the time the playoff comes, he gets fatigued. I've seen Porzingis get fatigued before, so I don't know. I think offensively they're better. Defensively, I don't think they it's slightly worse. I know Porzingis could be good on the interior, but availability is the best ability here. But I don't know, man. It's weird. They still need a point guard, man. Like, who's gonna set that team up, bro? Porzingis definitely spreads the floor.
Derek White.
Yeah, I mean, Derek White had some decent games. Well, I'll say this, like, if everything's firing across all cylinders for them, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
Because Porzingis is definitely going to make life easier for Al Horford. Horford just becomes a sniper out of nowhere. Porzingis can't shoot that ball really well. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I feel like this definitely could work. Do I think they're going to win the championship with this roster? I still don't think so, bro. I still think that he could beat them in a playoff series.
Hey,
Like you're
I'll
telling,
take
like
it.
you're gonna, bro, Porzingis. Like you think Porzingis is gonna move Bam? No. Like if there's one player that I think a lot of players can neutralize Porzingis, but
Yeah.
like Bam will completely cancel out KP. That leaves Tatum and freaking Brown to do most of the heavy lifting. What are we doing here? I don't know.
But
Unless
but but see, here's the thing, Chris, and this is where Miami's zone defense always comes to effect. I think the Celtics saw how the Nuggets handled the Heat, and I think they're going after things. Sports are copycat leagues, man, and they saw the fact that height just beat Miami, but good height. I think that's what they went for in this trade. Good height.
yeah, yeah, but I don't know. I just don't trust Boston, bro. And for as good as they are, sustained success, really good roster, always going deep into the playoffs. I don't trust them, bro.
It's funny that their two biggest weaknesses on the roster are A, their head coach, and B, one of their star players can dribble left to save his life against a zone defense. Like I think it's pretty wild that those are the top two weaknesses of that team. And I guess now a third one, a point guard would be nice on that squad. Yeah, like I think at the end of the day, considering, I mean, if we want to talk about you don't trust Boston, hell, I will never trust Philly. And so we don't take them seriously. Who knows with this goddamn enigma of a team I root for next season? Like I think the Celtics, I don't see definitively right now, and I know we need to let free agency play out. I don't see a reason as of this moment for the Celtics not to be the second seed in the East next season.
Yeah, I don't trust Milwaukee either.
Yeah, but who
So
knows?
like by
Maybe
default,
the Celtics get the first seed.
I could see that for sure, but
It's a possibility.
it's a possibility. I don't know. I'm indifferent about this whole Porzingis trade. I think they're better on offense for sure, and maybe Missoula wants to like switch things up. Maybe he doesn't want like just pure defensive hound dogs, but because like, bro, that roster wasn't getting anything done. I would have gone a different direction, but like you said, if they're like trying to copy what the Nuggets are doing, I kind of get it. Um, it's kind of a wait and see approach, like I did for like the Warriors. Maybe they have some more moves like that they want to like pull off. So I don't know. I don't know. That it's so I'm assuming it's what Brogdon, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, and Robert Williams is their starting five.
Well, remember Brogdon was the sixth man of the year last year, so
But who's their point guard then? Are you gonna put White?
yeah, Derek White. I think they're going to put Derek
All
White.
right. All right. Okay. I guess. Am I moved? No, I'm
Yeah.
not moved. I'm sorry. I have high standards. Coming from a Knicks fan, of course. I do, dude. But yeah. Again, but they got 2 first picks, so they obviously win this deal.
Assets. Like it's just all about assets, which as we know, they use those assets. But before we get to that, we got a couple names to talk about.
Yeah, we do. Some players have opted out of their contracts, and then only I believe one player opted in. So the only one player that I have of note that opted in was Gary Trent Jr.
Yep.
A little weird to me. I feel like he could have gotten paid somewhere.
I think I think because of this again, I think the CBA, I think certain things, I think Gary Trent Jr. and his crew thought that he was not going to get the contract they wanted in this particular free agency
Isn't he
class.
clutch?
I think so. And I think
Okay.
now granted, has Clutch messed up a player in negotiating before? Absolutely. They're not perfect. They don't get every single person paid. But I do think that they surveyed the landscape and they thought to themselves that even in a role player dominant free agency class, Gary Trent Jr. wasn't necessarily going to get the kind of deal that he wanted in this group, and maybe they're just waiting for next season. Because
Okay.
here's the thing, Chris. While people will overvalue stars in free agency, they're going to overvalue role players a good chunk more.
Gary Trent Jr. could shoot the ball.
And one more season of that, maybe he gets traded at next year's trade deadline by the Raptors, or maybe he gets traded still in the summer. Like he may have opted in, but I still don't think it's a guarantee necessarily that he will be a Toronto Raptor come the start next season.
Yeah, I don't know what that team's doing, by the way. So, Gary Trent Jr., get out of there while you can. All right. You could add on some names. I don't know if I have everyone, but from what I have in the opt-out list, Fred VanVleet, Draymond Green, Kyle Kuzma, Bruce Brown, Chris Middleton. Am I missing someone?
I think you just said the big five right there.
Yeah, this is the most important ones. Let's start with Draymond Green. Just we kind of already talked about him. I think it's likely he resigns with the Warriors. I actually do have a list. Okay, these are post-draft cap space projections. So the top 7 teams with most cap space. Ready?
Mm.
One is the Rockets with 61 million.
Uh-huh.
Second is the Jazz, 47 million. Third is the Spurs, 38 million.
Yep.
Fourth, Sacramento, 35 million. They traded Rashawn Holmes. Fifth is the Pacers at 32 million. Sixth, Pistons, 30 million. 7 is the Orlando Magic at 24 million. So those are your top 7 teams that with the most cap space. Draymond, I feel like there's 2 teams that he would entertain. I don't know if they could afford him. But one team did make a move to kind of open up some cap space, and that's the Dallas Mavericks. They got rid of Bertans, traded the 10th pick to the Thunder for like the 12th pick, and like there was some other picks involved, but those are the main points.
Well, they also then got Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why.
I think just because center depth, I think that they've realized that Dwight Powell as a consistent starting center isn't necessarily the way to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I just again also that team it also hinges on what Kyrie Irving is going to do. But I do think like they eye Draymond Green, and I think him and Luca could be interesting. I feel like that they definitely need some defense on that team. And then of course the Lakers. I don't know what's going to happen with the Lakers, but of course just him and LeBron, clutch. Like even if the cap space isn't there, I feel like there's going to be some way where they make it work. I don't know. That's just how clutch runs the NBA. But other than that, I can't see. Those are the 3 teams I have for Draymond. I think the fact that you trade Jordan Poole, it's likely he stays with the Warriors. Like, where do you see? Could you see Draymond going somewhere like other than the Warriors?
I think you just said the 3 main teams. I think it's Warriors, Mavericks, or Lakers. I think it's most likely those. I just can't see a team outside of those 3 going
Yeah,
after him. I don't think it makes sense from a fit perspective. I don't think it makes sense from a like Draymond. I mentioned Draymond can help you in a championship. He also needs to go to a team that's ready to
yeah.
win
Like it
win that
can't.
championship.
Are the Mavericks ready?
But at least here's the thing with the Mavericks. At least, and assuming that toxic waste dump stays there, like you got Kyrie and Luca. At least he's have 2 scores there. Draymond is used to having a scoring
That is true.
backcourt duo, so at least that's there. Again, LeBron's his boy. Him and Anthony Davis might be the most OP defensive front court of all time if the 2 of them could stay together, healthy. Because the good lord, and the Warriors, obviously, he's been there his whole career. Draymond Green ain't turning around the goddamn fortunes of the Orlando Magic or the Chicago Bulls. He ain't doing that.
Final prediction, where he ends up.
Mm. I, I will say the Warriors because I think Steph and Clay are going to try to force Dunleavy's hand in keeping him.
Okay. I'll go with Mavericks just to switch it up. But I mean,
That's fair.
Warriors I had originally, but I can see the Mavericks. Okay. Bruce Brown opted out. This one makes sense.
Oh yeah,
This one I think everyone kind of predicted. Uh,
championship tax, baby. He's about to get paid.
yeah, yeah. He could still go back to the Nuggets. By the way,
Oh yeah,
he's gonna have a lot of suitors. A lot. It depends. Like, does he? Well, look, he won his championship, so he's gonna go for the bag.
he's
Right
been a
now.
role player his whole career. This is his first time hitting free agency that he's going to get like a big money deal. Teams are going to throw north of 10, 11, 12 million dollars at him.
I think I might say this team a bunch of times. I think the Rockets could go for him.
Mm.
They need some, bro. They need some decent veterans on that team. Well, Bruce Brown's what, a 2 guard?
Yeah.
Okay. Magic have enough guards. I don't think they're going to spend money on him.
Magic have all the guards in the world.
Pistons, I don't think he'd go back to Detroit.
Hell no.
Pacers, no, I can't see that. Sacramento, maybe. But I think Sacramento has a lot of guard depth.
Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter at shooting guard.
Yeah, and then I
They're-
think what's Davion Mitchell off the bench too.
Yeah, like they're already paying 2 shooting guards north of $10 million a year.
Yeah, I can't see that. Spurs, he is a Spurs type of player, I feel like. But I don't know. I think the Spurs they're gonna move very cautiously now in terms of like who they surround Embiid with. I can see them go Rockets. I'm gonna go with the Rockets. Why is that your team?
No, it wasn't. But it's just like I'm really starting to look at all these teams, and I just look at this and be like, God damn, what freaking team is going to pay Bruce?
I know it's so difficult.
Because it needs to be at least a good enough team.
Boston?
No, hell no, because you have Malcolm Brogdon's contract, you have Derek White's contract. They're going to pay Jaylen Brown this offseason if we were to believe all reports, which I have my opinions about that. Nah, I don't think it would be Boston. Although, does Milwaukee try to take a swing?
Do they have them? I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen with Middleton.
Yeah, that's the thing. Two of their guys opted out. Brooke Lopez and Chris Middleton opted out. Jay Crowder.
The Bucks.
Jay Crowder was only a free agent. Like maybe, man. Like here's the thing. Like conceivably, remember you can go over the tax for guys. You can bring back a Chris Middleton.
Yep.
And get a Bruce Brown off the bench. And realistically, the Bucks bench is kind of disappointing. No. Like
Yeah, it's kind of ass.
You know what? Yeah, I'll say that a championship team needs to try to make championship moves. Maybe Bruce Brown to the Bucks. Although I think Denver is going to try to find a way to keep him.
Yeah,
Even
I
though
believe that.
even though their strategy is try to use your picks to the best of your ability because you know you're going to end up losing guys.
Kyle Kuzma, our guy Kyle Kuzma.
Oh Lord.
Sacramento Kings for me. I think he goes there.
uh, I mean, it does fit him and Sabonis together. Like Sabonis is the inside threat.
They're a young upcoming team. I think his style fits them. He's better defensively than I thought he was.
That's fair.
Yeah, I got Sacramento Kings going for Kyle Kuzma. He's asking for a lot. I don't think he's gonna get what he wants, but I do think the team is gonna pay a decent price for him.
Well, remember you got to reach the cap floor here, Chris.
You're right.
I have two teams here that I think could just throw a chunk of change at him.
Talk to me.
This first team, they would need to trade someone first for them to then make this deal. The Minnesota Timberwolves. Cat cannot be there. They'd have to trade Cat and get Kuzma. But if we're to believe reports that they don't want to trade Cat, which bad organizations stay bad, ladies and gentlemen.
Please, no, because I can't handle Cat to Knicks rumors. Just stay.
I wasn't even going to say that, but all right then. And then the other team who I don't know because they did just take on a bad contract, but they don't have to worry about paying anyone on this team for a minute. Kyle Kuzma on the Oklahoma City Thunder would just be comedy to me. But they did make the play in this year. They're going to get Chet Holmgren back into the fold. It's SGA. It's Josh Giddey. You need a scorer. Like, SGA is your franchise player right now, and he can get assists. Josh Giddey is that all-around rebound assist kind of guy. Chet Holmgren is skinny and needs to eat a sandwich, but we believe he should at least be able to rebound at this level. They need an insurance policy. They need a true secondary scorer for Shy. I'm trying to be a little bit unique here, so let's go. OKC throws a little bit of change at Kuzma because remember, you could pay a guy a good chunk of money, but it could be on a short-term deal. I could see Kuzma to OKC on a 3-year deal with the third year being a player option, so it's only 2 seasons.
I can see that, Jurg, but I also it's weird because the Thunder have been a losing organization the past few years. I do think they're a well-run organization as well.
Yeah.
They have a specific type of player that they like. I don't think Kuzma's that guy. I'm not saying Kuzma isn't talented and OKC shouldn't be picking and choosing here, but I do think they're very cautious in who they have on their team.
Chris,
I don't think
how old is Kyle Kuzma, real quick? Is he
I think he's 27.
27, right? I'm looking at this Oklahoma City Thunder roster, and I think there's only 3 players that are 27 or older.
You know what it is, though? I see that argument, but OKC's young talent is actually mature. It's not some Rockets shit where you have just idiots playing on your team.
No, I agree with that, but also at some point,
yeah, I hear you. I just don't think Kuzma's that guy. I mean, they got Bertans and they're just all right, we're set. We got that vet.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Bertans ain't even a vet. Like I said, bad contract. That's what Bertans is. It costs Dallas 2 spots in the draft to trade and get rid of $18 million off the books. It cost the Sacramento Kings their first round pick to move what was it, $12.5 million, however much Rashawn Holmes was making, off the books. Like, Bertans is just there to be a body and reach the cap floor.
He's gonna hit some daggers against when your team needs to a win and they play OKC and it's gonna be a tight game. He's gonna one that hits that dagger 3 in your face.
Oh God!
I just know it. I've seen it.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay, these are the two I think the main names here that we'll talk about in the opt-out list. Let's talk about Fred VanVleet first because he's been opting out for a bit. He was the first one, I think.
Yep.
I'll say this straight up, and maybe it's not relevant. I've always thought he's been one of the most overrated players in the NBA. I think he's just a glorified shot chucker.
Yeah.
I'm not huge on him, but I do think he'll get the bag. From who? That's a good question here because do you see him re-signing with the Raptors?
I don't. I think it's been made very clear that he's not going to be a Raptor anymore. I think I said this. I'm pretty sure I told you guys this. It has been made clear by MLSE within the Raptors organization. Scotty Barnes is the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
And if they don't think a player can fit with Scotty Barnes, that player will not be on the team.
So who do you think he goes to? This is difficult because I think the top 7 teams that have the most cap space don't they don't need Fred VanVleet. He's an older player, man. He doesn't
I think because of who they drafted with the 2nd overall pick, I think the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah? That's out of left field.
You need another scorer.
But does he want to go there?
I mean, it doesn't matter where you go if they're going to offer you the most money. Like,
I don't think they offer him.
look, you're Fred VanVleet. You've won a championship. You're not going to be that guy. Like, where else are you going to go? Look, I know they're about to get new ownership, but new ownership doesn't change the fact that this team could still offer a bad contract here in free agency.
I mean, the Hornets could definitely use him for sure. I don't think the Hornets are gonna be the only one that offers him the bag. You know what's crazy? I could also see.
What do I feel like you're about to say? The team that I just thought of,
Say it.
Chicago Bulls.
No, but that's actually a good one. I preface this by saying I'm going to mention this team a few times. I think the Rockets.
Yeah.
They need a point guard.
Yeah.
They have cap space.
Yep.
Udoka isn't going to just coach just kids, bro.
Yeah, no, he's not.
And they need veteran presence badly.
Yep.
I could see depending on what happens to James Harden, because I don't think that they get Brown anymore. I think the Celtics re-sign Brown. Yeah, I think it just makes too much sense. It just kind of depends on him. And plus, you're going to Texas, so you're going to keep all your money.
Yep.
So, the Bulls definitely need him, though.
Yeah.
But can they afford him? I don't think so.
Well,
Because they also need to re-sign Vucevic, which I'm hearing reports that they're going to re-sign him.
I was telling you.
Pretty stupid.
I mean, with Lonzo, bad organizations do bad things. I mean, with Lonzo Ball being out, like, again, this is
forever.
Yeah, sadly, this is why in the NHL we have long-term injury reserved, where you still pay the guy, but he doesn't count towards the cap anymore. I don't think the NBA has that, does it?
No.
So it's like, if the NBA had that, I could 1,000% see the Bulls long LTIRing Lonzo if they could, and then just signing Van Vliet. I don't know if they could make the cap work, but it would be entertaining to say the very least. And then you just got Fred VanVleet and Alex Caruso just bothering everybody out there. One on offense, one on defense.
And yet, they're probably only going to make the first round. But, so you got the Bulls, I got the Rockets. I feel like I said Texans somewhere in this podcast. But, okay, last name to kind of talk about who opted out. Really went under the radar because of all the trades that were happening.
Josh Hart.
Yeah. Chris Middleton.
Okay, him too.
Close enough. Opted out of his final year, which was $40 million. Now, you did call this, Jurg.
I told you.
But man. Here's the thing. I was like, damn, bro, why? $40 million is a lot. But I feel like you don't opt out of that much money unless you know there's a bag waiting for you. I think he knows there's a bag waiting for him. That team that offers it to him?
Are you about to say the Rockets?
It could be the Rockets. Because, bro, he's on the decline, man. His knees are kind of cooked. Which, because you don't... $40 million final year? So then I'm assuming it's just going to be like 3 or 4 years, $100+ million.
That was my argument behind saying that I knew he was going to opt out, because he just wants to he's not going to get the $40 million a year cap hit, but he's going to get a long-term deal.
Yeah. So who do you have? You could be re-signing with the Bucks.
That's the thing, because they struck out with Beal. I mean, we don't know how far they tried to go with the Beal discussion, but Giannis needs a second man. I don't think Giannis is going to let him walk away. Like, I just don't see it happening. Like, I think I want to say it was last year. It was either last year or the year before. My memory is just all screwed up. I apologize. I've been waking up at 1 a.m. for days now. But it was a year or two ago where Evgeny Malkin was going to leave the Penguins, and Sidney Crosby called Malkin in the front office and said, "No, that's not happening." It more happened than that, but that's basically what occurred. I could see Giannis calling the front office and be like, "No, he's not leaving," and he's gonna call Chris and talk to Chris, be like, "Look, man, we won a championship together. Like, we could win one more. We could make this happen here." And they just got a new head coach. I don't see, I'm not saying he can't leave, but I think Giannis and him are they built it there together. They're close. They're friends. I think Giannis is gonna try to play a role in making sure Chris stays. So I have Middleton staying with the Bucks.
I'm gonna agree with you just because they can't see him anywhere else. I feel like, again, teams with the most cap space, they're not going to let us, use a ball of it on Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think the fact that they don't have, they struck out on Bradley Beal, they kind of need someone next to Giannis. The Bucks are going to be very funky to talk about, and then, in a few years. Because Drew Holiday's already talking about retirement, bro.
A lot of GMs have got to earn their keep this offseason with their teams, because there are not a lot of stable situations in the league right now. They're just not.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting offseason.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting offseason. All right, let's talk about the draft, and then we'll cap it off. We'll cap it off with the draft. Nothing crazy in terms of trades. Yeah, Wemby went 1, obviously.
As expected.
It's one of those things. Bet $100, win 5 cents. Brandon Miller went 2, Scoot went 3, the Thompson twins went 4 and 5. I'll say this, Jurg, this is like the first time in a while where I just didn't know anything about the draft besides the top 5. And then, of course, Grady Dick. Uh, can't forget the GOAT. He goes to Toronto with a very sweet suit, by the way.
Which was Raptors colors, everyone was saying.
And it was very Kansas, Dorothy and all that shit. But shout out to him, man. Shout out a big dick pick for the Raptors there. Huge dick moves. Big dick energy. There's gonna be a lot of this, by the way. There's gonna be a lot of this.
Thankfully, the Raptors are only going to be like a 20-win team, so we don't have to mention them that much.
Nice. Good. Fuck you, Toronto Raptors.
Mainly Masai Ujiri, who Chris.
And I'm glad he's getting slandered on Twitter, by the way. A lot of people are saying like he's awful to like deal with. Obviously, not everything could be a home run, Masai, but whatever. Okay. Besides Dick, the top 5. Here we go. We'll talk about the main talking point here. I think the Rockets took the wrong Thompson twin, bro.
Think so? Yeah, probably.
Because the shooter, from what I read, went to Detroit.
Yep.
The Rockets need shooting, bro. What are you doing? I guess they wanted to like have this.
Well, was Amon the more defensive of the two? Because I've been reading one of them as the better defender.
The Rockets took the more athletic one, which I guess fits their archetype because they have like a bunch of I don't know. But
all that team is just see. This is why, aside from Alfred
redundant
Şengün,
talent, bro.
Aside from Alfred Şengün, I don't like that young core in any way, shape, or form.
At all. And Şengün's like my favorite player on the team. I don't care how talented Jalen Green is, bro. Fuck out of here, man. I don't know. Like,
that is the definition of an empty calories team, to say the least.
Wow, really good, nice purgatory team, now empty calories team. Good shit, Jurg. I like that. I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing. I don't care about what they're doing. They get James Harden. It's gonna be just comedy, bro. It's just, again, redundant talent. It's just they don't like complement each other, bro. It's just they're just I don't know. They're just selecting.
If Ime Udoka still had hair, he would have lost all of it at the end of this next season dealing with these young guys.
I don't envy him. That's why I think they're gonna get a veteran. But then again, like the majority of their team is just all this young talent, bro. You're just gonna tell a bunch of like early 20-year-olds just you got to do this, you got to do that. There's bound to be head cases. For Detroit,
the thing is, it's bold to assume they're going to listen.
It's a good point. And who knows? Maybe like they keep like a Şengün or Jalen Green, and they're just like, all right, let's just package Jabari Smith, Kevin Porter Jr., and eventually the Thompson twin for like a
superstar,
not a superstar, but like a Jaylen Brown-esque player. You know what I mean?
Maybe
that's young. Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Hold on, maybe a Bradley Beal type player. But I was going for the joke. Come on now.
Please, Jurg. The Rockets just piss me off. I don't know. I'm not in no laughing mood from this piece of shit team. But Şengün, man, they're so lucky they have him.
Yep.
Pistons, of course, took the better Thompson twin. Hey, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yep.
We'll take him. Nothing to say about the Pistons here. But I think the main talking point is Brandon Miller going 2 to the Charlotte Hornets, Scoot Henderson going 3. We will not discuss the team that took Scoot Henderson. No. We're going to discuss the Charlotte Hornets. Making the wrong pick, IMO. Now, I know there's always the discussion about, best player available versus fit. I mean, we've kind of talked about this ad nauseum because I would have just taken Scoot Henderson. I understand him and LaMelo both point guards, but I think LaMelo would have fed him the rock whenever because I think he's just the pass first dude. You have your backcourt of the next few years, but now I guess Miller is a better fit. You need a 3. You need a wing player. I heard he was bombing interviews. I don't know, Jurg.
I heard that about several guys in this draft.
This draft did not move me at all. I don't know. I just would have gone Scoot, man. You figure it out later. Now that Jordan had the final say. I don't know why. If you're leaving, why do you have final say in this? What the fuck? I'm not why. Steve Clifford is not the right coach for them, bro. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but he's not the right coach for them. It's just so you're gonna have LaMelo. He'll resign for the rookie max. Obviously, does he want to be there? Probably not. Brandon Miller, who's already has his own shit to deal with on the side. He's crimes. Somehow, I think Miles Bridges might come back.
Oh, no.
And then, of course, well, you have your Terry Roziers and your Kelly Oubre's and your Gordon Haywards. Like that team is just so I don't know. I just don't know. I would have gone Scoot. It's just a better character wise and just talent wise. And I think LaMelo would have had fun playing with him, bro. But again, you needed a three. Brandon Miller's talented. I'm not saying like they made, you know, it's either if Brandon Miller wasn't gonna go two, he would have won three. So it's not like they went dog shit here. But I just would have gone Scoot, safer pick. But I guess they went best fit available. So I think LaMelo is their priority here, which is what they're telling me. They're just it's such a weird team, the Charlotte Hornets, man. And like it was so nice as a Knicks fan seeing a video of the Hornets reaction. Just the crowd, the Hornets fans, like
The mascot.
half of the mascot. That one told
He
me
was so
that one
sad.
popped me bad because bro, I don't feel bad. I don't give a shit about Charlotte, but it's nice seeing a team that's not mine making like a questionable decision at the draft, you know.
Mhm.
But I guess final comments on their pick with Brandon Miller.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm not against Brendan Miller like a lot of people are. I think in this draft class he was always going to be a top 4, top 5 pick, and evidently eventually became a top 3 pick. But I think when you bring up the whole, best player versus fit, I think this was a not rare case, but like this was a case where both were one player. I think Scoot was the best player available. And I like in today's game, there's no excuse to say that two guards can't work with each other. It's all about determining the strengths of both guys' games and what they could do. I think Scoot and LaMelo could have worked well. I said so much on this podcast weeks ago. I said that I thought it was going to be a really good fit because this is not my own player comparison. I got this from a coworker, my guy Marvin. Shout out to him. He said that Scoot Henderson reminded him of a young Baron Davis. And I think Scoot, with his bulldog energy to just attack at the rim, he could shoot, yes, but he could, just attacking, being the aggressor. I think LaMelo is the more finesse pass first. LaMelo will be content to get 9, 10, 11, 12 assists. Scoot will be the one to get the baskets. I think that could have been a great duo. And to me, I don't think you can't convince me that it couldn't have been a fit. I think you could have figured it out for sure. But like you said, they don't have the coach to figure it out. So ultimately, poor decision, especially because there were smoke screens the day before the draft that Scoot was going to end up being the pick,
Yeah.
and to just throw everybody off like that, it's tough to say the very least. But now that Pacific Northwest team has a building block of the future that they could maybe finally rebuild, or I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're going to do at this point. I don't care. Moving on.
I hate this. This is part of the job, quote unquote, just talking about these teams, man. I forgot to say this, by the way.
Hmm.
This will be the last thing I say. I forgot to say this when we were talking about the Suns and Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is the worst thing to happen in basketball, bro.
So hold on, Chris, because I find it ironic that the year that you and Dame don't pay attention to the draft, I was like ready for a mock draft every single goddamn week.
Yeah, sorry, pal.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Hindsight 2020, I probably should have reached out to do a mock or two, but I'll learn for next year. I was going to say, like, do you just want to spend? Because really, like, I don't know how much we could do about this draft unless you want to just give me rapid fire questions about prospects. But do you want to talk about Kevin Durant now, just as his own final segment?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
What a bitch. I hate him, bro. It's just, he has ruined everything, man. Like, I can't wait till he retires, bro. I'm sorry. I know he's great, but like, I'm done here. I'm done. The fuck has he done, bro? You're like, I'm sorry. Your 2 rings are tainted to me. Your place on the all-time list. You're about to get surpassed by Jokic, rightfully so.
Some
You're
people
not,
are already putting Jokic in front of
and
him.
you know what? I'm not arguing with them. You're not likable as a human being. You're a little bitch on Twitter, bro. It's just like he's great to watch, but like, bro, it's just OKC. I know people have been like, yo, he played with a super team his whole career. Let's forget OKC for a bit because like they were young. They still need to figure shit out. Harden left pretty soon. Whatever. He goes to Golden State, super team. Nets, you get Harden, you get Kyrie. That's just on you. You didn't make it work. And then you go to the Suns here. I'm sorry. Like, this is a super team. If you have if you have 3 max talents, you're a super team. I know I'm not bullish on them winning yet, but like just by definition, it's a super team. Like, bro, like, why do you have to? And of course, he was just like, he was on Twitter because everyone was just like like saying like, oh, he definitely recruited him, and then like he was just trying to clear his name, and then the reports come out that he tried to recruit Bradley Beal. I can't wait till he's done, dog. I think it's after this contract. I mean, he could play for a while, but like, I don't think his injury history. I don't think he's going to reach 40. I think once his contract is done, he might play a year after that. But after that, he's going to retire. I'm not going to miss him, bro. I'm not. I'm sorry. At some point, like, Come, bro. Every fucking team? Like, do you need such all fucking NBA talent at all times, bro? I get it. You want to win, but like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is why. Like, his rings will never mean much to me.
I saw a post about this and someone said, or maybe it was just a comment. It was like Kevin Durant is doing on a higher level what people criticize LeBron for doing when he went to Miami.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Because it's literally every single team he is bringing the guys there. And well, aside from Golden State, but obviously he went to a 73 and goddamn 9 team. So a little bit of a different case there, but it's very interesting to say the very least. Like I don't want to say like that I won't miss him. I'm done because Kevin Durant is still one of the top 5 unique talents of our generation in terms of his skill set, in terms of what he can do. I'm not going to say the usual shticks that other analysts and commentators talk about, how that he's 7 foot tall and could pull up from 30 and all that bullcrap, but Kevin Durant is an extremely unique player. And it's like, I think there needs to be a case study, like an in-depth analysis of his career when it's all said and done, because he has lived one of the most interesting superstar careers I think we have seen in our sports generation's lifetime. I really think that.
You
And
said unique?
yeah, I think he's taken such a different, unique path than what it was.
You're right.
Because here's the thing, bro. At the end of the day, like we know this for a fact, Kevin Durant did not think that the reception to his move to Golden State was going to be as bad as it was. He didn't think that.
That's so stupid.
He did not believe that it was going to be that bad. I think he saw it as the same thing as what LeBron did, and it wasn't. Because LeBron went to a team that, and I'm a Heat fan, and I will say this: Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh for 4 years, at best, one Finals appearance, maybe a second one if things broke our way. LeBron made the Heat a 4-time Eastern Conference champion in a row and back-to-back NBA champions. Should have been 3 in a row, but I think that Durant and then the move to Brooklyn where he had the chance to do it right, and while Kyrie was the ultimate thing that made that place more toxic than Chernobyl, I think Kevin Durant's lackadaisical, laissez-faire attitude with the team, letting him and Kyrie agreed they didn't want a real coach, and they let them get Steve Nash. They were upset that their best friend DeAndre Jordan wasn't starting, so they fired Kenny Atkinson and traded Jared Allen to Cleveland in a deal that ultimately landed them James Harden. And then James Harden once gone, and then the whole thing with Kyrie, and like just so many things that if Kevin Durant had done what superstars are supposed to do and can do and put their foot down, that it would have all been avoided, but he didn't do any of that. I think Kevin Durant is one of the fantastic players of our generation. I don't want that to be lost in the historical rhetoric. And I think we would be doing a disservice to him if we allowed that to get lost. But at the same time, in terms of being a player with impact on the game and changing things in organizations and locker rooms, I don't think he is one of the top 3, top 4 guys who have impacted an organization in the last decade plus like we might think so. Because guys in that tier, it's LeBron, it's Steph, it's Jokic, and it's Giannis. I think I would list those 4 guys before him in terms of what they did for their organizations and changing everything, like complete 180 turn.
Positively.
Yeah, positively. Like, I think the Warriors still could have made at least 1 or 2 more finals without KD. And, I mean, I know they literally just won one without him last year, but I'm talking about the 2017 and 18 finals. Even though I have personally said 2017, I think the Cavs would have won that. But that 2018 Warriors team was going to win that chip no matter what, with or without Durant. Because, good Lord, they played 5-on-1 basketball. Hell, like, most people would have won in that situation. I think that the talent of Kevin Durant should never be lost. But the impact, what I feel like there's a word I'm trying to pull out here, but it's not coming to me. But the aura, maybe the aura of Kevin Durant and the impact of him, I think has sullied everything that he has built. Because can we take him seriously anymore?
No.
Like,
I don't care, man.
It's the same script. He's gonna play 60 games next season, maybe. He's going.
You know. By the way, Jurg, that like once things go south, if they go south for the Suns this year, Vogel's getting the boot.
Oh yeah,
right away.
He may have signed a 5-year deal. I'm telling you right now, Matt Ishbia, if there's one thing
If
there's one thing that new owners love to do, they're going to pay to fix mistakes, man. They will pay to fix mistakes. Freaking, and if you don't believe us, Walmart bought the Broncos and they canned their trash head coach after a season. Granted, their quarterback is bad too, but they canned their trash head coach. You don't think the Suns will can Frank Vogel if they lose in the first round again? Or even if they lose in the second round? This is the thing. I think Frank Vogel, I kind of feel bad in this extent. I think he is put on a team that they are expecting to at least make the conference finals. I don't think that team has the pieces to make the conference finals. And the first person they're going to blame is him and the first two people are him and James Jones, because Bradley Beal just got there. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant, and
I don't know. I think KD might get some of the heat. He has to get some of the heat,
probably. But like I'm saying, in terms of people who like not suffer, but like deliberately be impacted by it, like it's Frank Vogel and James Jones's job securities who are on the line before Kevin Durant being traded anywhere.
At that point, I'd be like, if it doesn't work, what the fuck do you want me to do if I'm James Jones? What do you want me to do?
Yep. He has now. Granted, you could argue that part of it was him, like he made these trades himself. This is not a Wizard situation where it was his predecessor, but at the same time, like he made moves that it was the belief and undergoing an ownership change that he thought would do the team right. And to be fair, I think the Kevin Durant thing is the one that I think we would all agree makes the most sense. I think it's this Bradley Beal thing, and there had to have been a push from A, ownership, and B, as we know, Kevin Durant's whole recruiting thing. And
Booker.
Yeah. It's like, and this Suns team just they went from plucky team that made the 2021 NBA Finals, and there was some feel good about Booker cementing himself as a bona fide star in the game, and Chris Paul maybe potentially like finally making it to the finals in his career, and DeAndre Ayton playing well for a first overall pick, and all that's just been shattered in 2.5 years. Like, isn't that wild? Because now nobody cares about DeAndre Ayton. Now Chris Paul is gone. He was a Wizard and now he's a Warrior. He went to like Devin Booker. It just gets slandered on Twitter and people just make jokes about him that Bad Bunny took his girl. Yeah, he did. And then Kevin Durant is just Kevin Durant still with his Twitter burner accounts. Like,
but Durant's getting slandered.
Just all like Phoenix has taken so many L's the last 2 years. Just
they deserve it.
Oof.
They've been unlikable to me, man.
No, I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying, Chris, like.
No, it's quick.
If someone had told you at the end of the 2021 NBA Finals, hey, we're all going to hate the Suns in 2 years, like, but here's the thing: we were going to hate the Suns, but they weren't going to win the chip. It's like, really?
Oh, that part, yeah, because these teams always like end up going that route. I don't know. The Suns all had they always had the makings of a team that I would despise, and I don't know. Like I like Booker, but also Booker's a piece of shit on the court. Let's not forget that. But I love him on my team, though. Can't lie.
I was gonna say you would trade half of the Knicks roster in a heartbeat.
I would sacrifice most of like Albania.
No, come on. Not Chypria.
No, I have to, bro. Yeah, but I just think Kevin Durant's one of the worst things to happen in basketball, man. I got to deal with this shit now every fucking time. It's just that team. It's like, oh wow, the OP team. Well, you better win now, KD. You better hope the Nuggets don't win another championship because, you're climbing down the ranks, my friend.
Or the Bucks, because Giannis and Jokic are both like making a case here for themselves, and I think that in 2 to 3 years' time, there's a chance that we are putting both Giannis and Jokic above Kevin Durant in the all-time conversations. And I'm telling you, man, like that would be unthinkable in basketball circles 2-3 years ago.
Shout out to my Euros.
Oh, yes, sir. Our Balkans boys. Let's go.
Yep. Let's go. Hope they win as much as they can. I think that'll do it. That'll do it for this week. What a stacked episode. Just stacked. I think we're going to get more news next week probably as well. And we'll talk about it. But very stacked episode indeed. Couldn't get Dame on. Don't care.
Miss you, Dame.
Yeah. But, Jurg, where can they find us on the socials?
Guys, off-season time is the best time, and off-seasons, at least in the sport, happen in the summer, and summertime is the best time to pick up this new amazing, new for some of you, best sports podcast out there here in the Somewhat Sports Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at somewhat.sports, where we, during the seasons, we post up polls. We will find a way to get some more content up there, get some more posts, get some more stories happening in the off season. But make sure you follow us there because we always post on there updates to when the latest episodes have been up. And speaking of latest episodes, if you want to continue to listen to the podcast, if this is your first time listening to the show, which by the way, there is a third person with us on a weekly basis, just so the new listeners are aware, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify, Somewhat Spaced in Sports. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us 5 stars. Leave us a review on Spotify. Please, guys, we always stress this. Please comment what you want us to talk more about. What more fun do you want us to do? Are we maybe underrating something? Are we overrating something? Are we not talking about things the right way? I like to think we kind of know what we're talking about, but please let us know. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know what you want to experience this offseason, because at the end of the day, I say this and I will say this a million times over. This is a podcast by the people, for the people. This is the People's Sports Podcast, and it's the summer of 2023, barring this weird week of rainy weather we're going to get over the next week, but the sun will be shining, the birds will be singing, and what's the way to enjoy the summer when you're taking those long train car rides to the beach, when you're just going home from a night out with friends? What do you got to listen in your ears on the trip home? The best sports podcast out there, the SomewhatSports Podcast.
Beautifully put as always, Jurg. Beautifully put as always. I want to run through a brick wall. I appreciate you steering the ship with me this week. Dame,
come back
whatever. Soon. To all the listeners listening, if you made it this far, we appreciate you. And until next time, peace.